help. I'm a single father of one, a 5-year-old little girl, and my daughter has reached the age where she's terrified of the dark. From what I've read, every child goes through it. I know I definitely did, but it's much worse with my daughter. She gets really scared, and in her half-awake state, she gets up and starts looking for her mother in a really panicked manner. Her mother died in a horrible car accident. A drunk driver was racing down the street in a truck and plowed right through her car as she was pulling out of the driveway. This happened a year and 3 days ago, and it was just 3 days ago on the anniversary that everything got worse. As I said, my daughter gets up and goes through the house panicked, but it doesn't always wake me up. So I installed cameras all over the house that sends alerts to my phone if they detect movement. I've gotten used to waking up after having gotten an alert and looking at one of the cameras to see something like her trying to open the back door or climbing onto a chair. When it happens, I simply get up, give her a big hug like her mom always did, and let her sleep with me. It's nothing too hard to handle. It's gone from what feels like forever, and it's basically become a part of my sleep schedule. Now that you have some context, here's what's happening that's starting to freak me out. 3 days ago, the anniversary of my wife's death, I woke up after my phone started buzzing at a decent pace. It was the cameras. The alert happened very fast, and the cameras were triggered and led straight to my daughter's room. So I figured she was just having another episode, and that it's just taken longer to wake up. But there's no way that was the case. There were only alerts leading to my daughter's room. There were none that would suggest that she got up and left the room. The camera in her room hadn't been triggered, and I heard my daughter scream in fear, and I tried to look at the camera as I quickly got out of bed, but it wasn't working. I ran down the hallway and went through her already open door, ready to attack whatever was in her room. There was no one, just my daughter. She was laying in her bed, covers pulled all the way up over her head. I tried to talk her into pulling them down, but she refused, so I eventually stopped asking. I sat down next to her bed and asked her what scared her. She didn't respond. I asked again. She simply said, "There's a monster in my closet." Of course I didn't believe her, but wanting to calm her down, I agreed to inspect the closet. At this point, I had completely forgot about the alerts. I guess in the moment I just played it off as malfunctioning equipment and bad timing. I had just started to calm myself down as I approached the closet, but that quickly changed when I heard something in the closet moving. I froze immediately, terrified. What or who is in my daughter's closet and why? What was I gonna do when I opened the door? There wasn't time to think though. I quickly pulled the door open. What I saw wasn't possible. It was my daughter. She had tears going down her cheeks, very frightened. The last thing I remember before waking up in my bed in the morning was her saying, "Daddy, there's a monster under my bed." I thought it was just a terrifying dream. Thought I just imagined all of it. But when I picked up my phone, the alerts were there. I went into the cameras app, selected the DVR, and all the cameras were empty until my daughter's door started to open before the camera cut out. And then me running down the hallway. I almost missed it, but looking at my daughter's camera all the way through, I noticed there was one frame of static. I paused it and instantly regretted it. It was me looking down into the closet, and behind me, on my daughter's bed, it looked like something was standing straight up under the covers of the blankets. I quickly headed out into the living room, and then the kitchen. My daughter wasn't anywhere. I couldn't find her. I've been sitting at my kitchen table for a couple days now. It feels like something is watching me. Like something is just right there. There, just past the corner of your eye. Right where you can't see it. I decided if I was just gonna sit here, I might as well tell someone what happened. Guess what? I just got an alert. The camera in the corner of the room right in front of me just detected motion. There is something behind me. I want to look. I'm gonna click post before looking, just in case. Wish me luck. As a kid, I lived with a neglectful parent at best. At worst, Dad would turn his screams and fists at me, but I learned quickly how to dodge the worst of it. Mom wasn't much help. She'd just smoke in the kitchen and bitch at him for staying out too late. At the time, we lived basically in the middle of nowhere. Our nearest neighbors were a long walk away for a 6-year-old, and we had trees between us. No one could run for help, but I was a pretty small kid for my age. I learned I could pretty much fit anywhere. The closet, dryer. I think even once I tucked myself under a futon in such a way I could still get some air, but no one could see me. I was a master at hiding, but it wasn't for a good reason. One night, though, I chose to do something different. I could hear it in my dad's yells. He was pissed and about to get violent. Mom wasn't helping either, just piling fuel onto the inferno of flame. So I knew I had to find a good hiding spot. I had gotten the idea a few days before, when I realized the lattice covering, bottom half of our back porch, had a hole in it. Not big enough to fit a full-grown man, most likely, but I could fit my skinny 6-year-old body in there no problem. So wrapping myself in my blanket and grabbing my hippo stuffy, I snuck out my window and ran into the backyard. In the middle of autumn, when it's 40 degrees out and the temperature's steadily dropping, I crawled under my porch, scraping my elbow and getting splinters on my palms, but I fit inside. It was quite spacious compared to my other hiding spots. I couldn't sit up all the way, but I had plenty of room to spread out my limbs. Of course, I was also getting covered in dirt. It rained a few days ago and the mud was still a little wet. I wrapped myself in my blankie the best I could and settled in for the night. But soon, even with my blankie and hippo, my teeth were chattering so hard I could barely breathe. I didn't want to go back inside, knowing that if my dad caught me, I'd be in for the whipping of my life. So I toughed it out. "Honey, are you cold?" Not the voice of my mother, scratching from all the smoking and screeching she did. It was sweet, like honey. I turned over to see a dim outline of a woman, laying on her stomach next to me. She had a pretty butterfly necklace on, and was just as dirty as I was. I nodded, wondering how long she'd been there without me noticing. The woman crawled forward and wrapped her arms around me, and suddenly I became warm, like I was sitting next to a campfire. I snuggled into her arms, not minding the mud. After all, we were both dirty. "You've gotten so big," the woman said, examining my face. "How old are you now, Alex?" 6. How did I know this woman again? I don't think I did. 6, the woman gasped. "You're all grown up then. I'm so happy." She sighed pleasantly and stroked my hair. I had never felt this cozy in my life. "But what's your name?" I asked. She smiled. I could hear it in her voice. "I'm Lily. What's your favorite thing to do?" I had to think of it for a second. "I like board games and coloring." Lily chuckled. "Just like me then. Could never get enough of Scrabble. But I guess you're still too young to play that, huh?" I nodded. "I like the tiles. Would you play with me?" I heard Lily sharply inhale. I don't think I can. Your daddy put me under here, and I can't leave. But," she thought for a second, "Alex, can you do me a favor?" Of course. This lady was so nice. Why wouldn't I do her a favor? "When you wake up in the morning, go to the police station. Ask for an officer named Lowell Joyce. Tell him where you can find Lily, okay? Under your porch. He'll come and get me, okay? And then maybe we could play Scrabble." Yippee about the possibility of playing Scrabble to notice Lily's voice caught at the end. I nodded. "I'll do it. We are on the same team, right?" Lily softly laughed. "I'll help you understand the rules. Good night, Alex." When I woke up the next morning, I heard Lily's voice. "Go now. Your dad is gone at work. I'll tell you how to get to the station." Rubbing my eyes, I crawled out from underneath the porch, went into the house to grab my shoes and coat. I shivered in the frosty cold, but I thought Lily was right behind me. After my shoes and coat were on, I started walking. It was long enough to the neighbor's house. I really can't remember how long it took to get to the police station, although I have no idea why no one pulled over to see what the hell a 6-year-old in dirty pajamas was doing walking alongside the road. Lily kept guiding me onward. "Wait, okay? Cross the street now. Turn right here. Keep going. You've almost made it. I nearly collapsed of exhaustion by the time I walked into the police station. The guys out front chatting and having a good time didn't see me until I almost made it to the front desk. Whoa, kid, you okay? One of the officers knelt down at my level, eyes wide. I nodded. I'm okay. Can I talk to Lowell Joyce? I asked. One of the officers picked me up. Sure, just let me get you someplace warm. Holy shit, your lips are blue. I remember quietly scolding the man about watching his language. Shit was a bad word. I was given some warm cocoa and wrapped into a blanket. By the time the man with a graying mustache sat next to me. Hi kid, I'm Officer Joyce. What's your name? He asked. Alex. I set down the cup and looked at him straight in the eye. I was told to tell you that Lily is under my back porch. You need to get her out of there so we can play Scrabble. I had never seen a grown man turn pale before. Lots of things were blurred together at this point. I remember being taken back to my house, and there were a lot of police cars and people around. The back porch was surrounded by yellow tape, and someone was taking a black bag away while my dad was in handcuffs. After that, I lived with my grandparents. Sheriff Joyce. I tried to ask them about what happened to Lily, but I always got shut down. I was too young to know. But life got better. A lot better. Grandpa was the best man I could have hoped for in my life. We went out on weekends to go to the movies, where he let me have a giant soda, even though I would have to pee in the middle of the movie. When I asked him if I could drink when I was 13, he let me have a taste of beer. I spat it out and didn't touch it again. He never judged me for my love of art, letting me paint my own bedroom multiple times over the years. I felt safe around him. He never laid a hand on me. My grandmother was amazing too. Over the week, she would homeschool me, along with teaching me things you wouldn't learn in school, such as how to respect others, but also not to take their crap. And cooking, lots of cooking. I could make my own birthday cake by the time I was 12, but I usually just made them for my friends. I got a lot of those after I was free from my dad. When I turned 16, Grandpa took me back to my dad's house. The whole thing was bulldozed over, but I could still see the yellow tape wound around a few trees, faded and torn. We sat together on the back of his truck. He opened a beer and drank half of it before setting it down and grabbing me an orange soda. After I drank it, he told me, Lily was your mother. Good thing you didn't tell me this as I was swallowing. I likely would have had it coming out of my nose. My mom? I questioned, confused. Your actual mom. The woman who lived with your dad was not your mother. My granddad grabbed another beer. Lily was my daughter. I loved her so much. But when you were around 6 months old, she vanished. My stomach dropped. My dad just imprisoned her under the porch? I asked, and started feeling sick to my stomach. Grandpa took a deep breath before setting his unopened beer down. That's something I've never been able to understand. Lily told you to find me and that she loved Scrabble? Yeah, she kept me warm that night. I probably would have frozen to death if she hadn't been there. I was a stupid kid. Even I knew that. Grandpa went dead quiet before he opened that beer and slammed the whole thing. Alex, Lily had been dead the whole time she was gone. When we dug her up, she was just bones. Experts confirmed it, and your dad confessed what happened. They had gotten in a fight, and he threw her down the stairs. She broke her neck. He clenched his fist. I knew he had something to do with her disappearance, but I never had proof until you walked into my station, covered in dirt, and telling me she was under your porch. I was floored. I couldn't breathe. All I could do was shake my head. But I saw her. She was alive. She had a butterfly necklace. I tailed off when Grandpa pulled out the evidence baggie from his pocket. There was a butterfly necklace, all right, rusty, and parts of the paint chipped off. But I remember as clearly as I remember Lily's voice. Grandpa took a shaky breath as he passed the bag into my hands. Lily loved you so much. It's why she stuck around that bastard. You were her whole world. She was constantly taking pictures of you and sending it to us in the mail. Sometimes a mother's love can accomplish things that no human can do. My eyes overflowed with tears as I clutched the necklace to my chest, choking on sobs. I leaned against my grandpa. He held me tight, and I swear I felt a few of his tears land on top of my head. And for just a brief moment, I swear I felt the warm love I felt that night under the porch. My friends and I were at our favorite pub last night. Not a fancy place, but cheap beer and close enough to home where I didn't have to drive. The night started off normally enough. The four of us crammed at a small table off in the corner, mostly talking shop and shitting on our boss. Being that it was the middle of the week, there weren't too many other people there. Maybe 8 or 9 others in the whole place. Everyone just keeping to themselves. The sort of people you would expect to see in the pub on a Wednesday. Anyway, from where I was sitting, I had a pretty good view of the TV behind the bar. Jesse, the bartender, is kind of lazily flipping through the TV channels and passes by the local news channel. There is a brief burst of orange and red on the screen, which I register as a fire happening somewhere, which then disappears when Jesse switches over to the next channel. Something about the image looked oddly familiar though. "Hey Jess, can you switch that back?" I called out to her. The news comes back on, and suddenly I recognize the building in the frame. It's my building, and it's burning. "Holy shit," I say loudly enough for a few people to gaze over to the television. "That's my apartment." The bar kinda gets quiet, and everyone's staring up at the screen now. The screen shows a whole wide shot of the outside of my building. The camera must be set up on the north end of the block, because I recognize a lot of shops on the ground floor. Property management, dry cleaners, convenient mart, etc. The top left corner of the building is in flame. It's not a huge fire by any means, but it looks like a few units between the top 4 floors or so have already been engulfed by the flames. "Jesus, man," one of my co-workers says. That sucks." There's another uncomfortable murmur of agreement that passes around the table. I mean, I don't blame them. I wouldn't know what to say in that situation either. "Yep," I agree, just as awkwardly. Thankfully, my apartment is only halfway up and located on the west side of the building. I cross my fingers, hoping my stuff will be okay. The camera cuts off to a reporter at the scene. He's standing a little further away. Looking at the shops in the background, I could tell he's across the street from the northwest corner of the building. "Firefighters are expected to be on the scene any moment," he's saying, "and hopefully they'll be able to contain the horrible inferno before it spreads any further. As I was saying before, it's very fortunate that everyone was able to evacuate the building before things got too bad, or who knows what tragic events may have unfolded." "He's really laying it on thick," my other coworker jokes. I chuckle a bit, and all things considered, at the moment, it didn't really seem all that bad. But then a few minutes later, hang on," the reporter on TV says. "We're getting some updated information. It seems..." "Hang on one moment while we readjust the camera." The previous lockdown camera starts to shift, the angle focusing on the area of the building about halfway up the west side. All the lights in the building are out except for one. I feel a weird creeping sensation as I start counting the windows from the bottom. 5 up, 2 over. That's my place. I swear I turned our lights out. I think at first, then I see it. There's a person standing in my window. The camera is zoomed out too far to make out any features, but it definitely looks like a man, and it's definitely standing in my apartment. I watch petrified as the camera zooms in closer, the reporter babbling on about the overlooked, ill-fated soul still trapped in the blazing such and such. As the image is closer, I start to make out the details. The person is dancing or something. I really don't know how to explain. Like, everything he's doing has this bizarre rhythmic quality to it. He starts waving his arms in the air, back and forth, and then he's waving them up and down at the sides. He's banging both the fists on the glass. Then he's waving his arms over his head again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. He starts jumping up and down, waving his arms over his head like he's trying to get someone's attention from a long distance. But everything is exactly in the same rhythm, over and over again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. "What the fuck?" I say with my voice hoarse whisper. And then the camera gets a little closer, and I finally can make out the person's features. It looks almost exactly like me. It's wearing the same exact clothes that I'm wearing now. Clothes I changed into the moment before leaving my apartment earlier. Its face looked almost exactly like mine as well, except for his eyes. His eyes were far too big for a normal person. It also has this almost comical look of horror on its face. I don't even know how to describe it. Imagine if someone were pretending to look scared, but as a joke. It would have almost seemed funny if the circumstances were different, but instead it was just extremely unnerving. No one in the bar is talking now. Everyone fixed to the TV. The person is still swaying and waving around, beating his hands on the glass and jumping in circles. I almost didn't hear the reporter mention the fact that the firefighters have rushed into the building and now are heading to my floor. Oh God, I think, without really understanding what is happening. Please don't go in there. I stare transfixed on the screen. From this angle you can just barely see, not too far behind where the creature was flailing around. Right now it's holding its face in its hands, shaking its head from side to side, as if saying no. Suddenly the door behind it bursts open as, presumably, the firefighters have entered my apartment. The creature stops moving for a second. I see its expression change. The comical look of horror is gone, replaced with a huge smile filled with enormous, pointed teeth. Then the lights go out. We all just sat there staring at the screen as the camera slowly zoomed out from the now dark window. No one says anything as we quietly pay our bill and leave. I went directly to my sister's place across town and asked to stay with her. I told her there was a fire at my apartment, and that's it. When I tried to find footage from the news online later that night, it seemed like they had edited that last part out. I don't know if any of you on this subreddit know what that thing was, but I hope they didn't put out that fire. I hope they let the whole fucking place burn to the ground. I was an orphan growing up. I always supposed that was for the best. If my mom didn't want me, then I was probably better off that I wasn't in her care. I don't hate her or my father, whoever and wherever he was. I was just happy to be alive. I still remember the first time I invaded the mind of another living being. I was 6 years old, sitting outside on the sidewalk when I heard what I can describe as impulses in my head. The impulses were very strong, and though they weren't words, I knew full well what they were focused on. Eating. I glanced about in confusion until I laid eyes on a scrawny cat as it gnawed away on a dead pigeon. I can't believe what was happening, but that was only the beginning. My mind soon became clouded with the influx of thoughts and impulses. It took me a while, but I managed to gain control over whose thoughts I wanted and didn't want to hear. I had mastered the skill by the age of 13 and knew full well what I was doing wasn't natural. To be honest, I felt more than a little guilty when I peeked into little Danny Meadows' mind to see if she liked me as much as I liked her. That guilt turned to gloom when I found out she was crushing on Richard James instead. I would jump in and out of the smartest kids' heads in the classroom during tests, and ended up doing just as well as them without having to study any of the source material. I would catch up on all the gossip around school while being an antisocial outcast stalking the halls. I got to experience my teenage years in ways no one ever has before. I got into one of the better colleges the country has to offer. I aced the exams and had to put in effort only on the written assignments. I finally made a few friends, and for the first time met a girl who was actually generally into me. I made sure to browse her thoughts a few times just to be sure. We started dating, and now, 4 years later, we're engaged. I work in sales and am pretty good at figuring out what clients want and what they're interested in. My gift had gotten me so far in life, and I had grown to love it and everything it offered, until I met him. My friends and I were having drinks one night when I got bored sitting at the bar. I decided to start a game of guess what this person's thinking about. I looked at a woman laughing a little too loudly with a guy who had his hand on her knee. "Oh, please, stop touching me," I guessed, listening in. I was right. She wasn't into the guy at all. In fact, she was thinking about getting home and catching up on her favorite Netflix show. I chuckled at just the right time. My friend had just told a joke that he's been trying to formulate in his mind for hours now. I moved my attention to the guy sitting alone, sipping whiskey. He's thinking about a recent breakup, I bet. Nope, I was wrong this time. He was hoping some girl would notice him and he could get laid for the first time in 6 months. Poor guy. Then I noticed a cheery-looking man sitting in the corner with the prettiest girl in the bar. Oh, this guy's thinking about what he's gonna do to her tonight. Well, I wasn't wrong. Why is this bitch smiling so much? I can't wait to slice her fucking lips off tonight. See how much she'll be smiling then. My eyebrows furrowed. Was he joking? No, he wouldn't be joking within his own mind. I have to go slower this time. Shauna went way too fast. My heartbeat was beginning to increase. Was this literally happening? Was I hearing the beginning of what was going to be a premeditated murder? Oh yeah, your blood is going to run down the bath drain tonight. And I know you're being nosy over there, Dylan. What the fuck? Yes, I know. You can keep a secret, right, man? At this, the man turned and looked directly at me, still grinning. He inclined his head and toasted me. Hey guys, I just remembered. Stacy is expecting me home before 12. I'll text you guys when I get home, alright? I hurried out of the bar and got into my car. As I sat hyperventilating, sweat pouring down my face, I noticed movement outside my car. Glancing out the window, I saw the man from the bar, helping support the pretty woman, who seemed to be more than a little tipsy. As he opened the passenger door for her to get in, I heard him again, even though he wasn't looking at me. See you later, bud. No, I didn't leave her to die, guys. Just because I'm a trespasser of thoughts doesn't mean I'm a complete monster. Though I was surprised, confused, and terrified, I still knew that I couldn't let this guy, this murderer, get away with it. Though I wasn't completely sure what exactly I was dealing with, I waited till he pulled out of the parking lot in his green Accord before shortly following suit. Even though this guy was going to know what I was doing, I knew I had to enter his mind again. I needed to find out his true intentions with the girl. I could barely see the back of his head, illuminating every now and again by the streetlights through the back windshield. But this was all I needed. I honed in, only to find nothing. What the hell? This had never happened before. Was I too nervous to focus right now? I turned my attention to the girl, who seemed to be singing animatedly. Her muddled, drunken thoughts were like tangled Christmas lights, but they were there. Then it occurred to me, was this guy blocking me out? I focused on him again. Yes, finally. I found that he had been planning to take her back to his place, the address of which I found easily, given that it was at the front of his mind as he drove. It had suddenly occurred to me that I might want to call the police. I fished my hand into my pocket, grabbed my phone, and quickly dialed 911. Hello, what's your emergency? Came a calm voice from the other end. I opened my mouth and closed it. What the hell was I supposed to say? I knew a guy was about to commit murder because I read his mind. Sir, what's your emergency? Oh yes, there's a man who's trying to hurt a girl. The Accord suddenly sped up and darted through the traffic light just as it was turning red. I slammed on my brakes as the next wave of cars began to roll through from the light change. I was gonna lose him, but I still knew the address. Yes, ma'am, there's a man hurting a woman on 223 Cherry Blossom Lane. Please hurry. He's already killed someone before. We're dispatching a unit now. What's a good callback number for you, sir? I responded to the rest of the emergency questions before the light changed, and I turned on my GPS. I knew I had to stop this asshole. I must admit, was more than curious as to who the hell he was. I thought I was the only person in the world that could do it since I was 6 years old. The fact that this man could as well, and seemed better than me at that, blew my mind. No pun intended. I pulled up to the address in a hurry. There were multiple cars in the driveway. I paid them no mind. Adrenaline was surging through me as I hopped out of the car and made my way to the porch. I glanced to my left at the cars in the driveway. None of them were Hondas. I felt a sinking feeling in my gut as the front door to the house flew open. 3 guys dressed in white shirts and brandishing guns were standing in the doorway. I kept my cool and immediately jumped into their minds. I wasn't welcome here. That much was very clear. These guys were drug dealers and distributors of illegal weapons, and these guys weren't gonna think twice about ending my life. "Who the fuck are you?" one of them spat, his pistol aimed right at my forehead. I had to play it smart. 2 of them were already thinking about grabbing me and taking me inside. "Hey, my bad, man. I'm looking for my friend's house. We're having a party tonight. I must have got the address mixed up." "You know what?" One of the guys stepped forward, his gun at the ready. "This guy looks an awful lot like Victor." Oh shit, who the fuck was Victor? 2 seconds later I knew. He was someone that had bought drugs and at least one weapon from them before. These guys' patience with me had quickly plummeted. I knew I wasn't getting out of this. "Are you related to Victor, man?" "No, like I said, wrong house. I'll just go now." I knew what would happen before it did. The guys bum rushed me and seized my arms and legs. I struggled wildly as they dragged me into the house. "Oh yeah? We're about to find out a lot about you tonight, homie," one of them said, and I literally knew what they had in mind, and I didn't like it one bit. "Fredo, grab the tape, man." That was when I heard sirens. 3 seconds later, 2 police cars pull up into the yard, and 4 cops jump out, their weapons in hand. "We gotta get out of here." The biggest of the guys gave no fuss. He threw the door open and began firing at the officers. One of them was struck and fell to his knees. I ran as the fire was returned. I could hear nothing but the deafening sounds of gunshots and glass breaking. I stumbled into the back part of the house and out the back door. Feeling woozy for some reason, I collapsed on the side of the house and then realized all I could do was hope for the best. A couple more minutes went by and I felt hot blood pouring from my wound on my shoulder. I had been shot. That was the last thing I remembered before passing out. When I woke, there was daylight outside. I was laying in a hospital bed, and my fiancée Stacy was at my side, her big blue eyes full of relief. I could feel the jubilation of her thoughts as she saw me coming to. "What happened?" It was a rhetoric question for me, something that any normal person would ask. But I had already been in her head. I knew that the cops had rushed me in an ambulance to this hospital. I knew that the 3 drug dealers were dead. After Stacy told me everything, I pretended to be surprised. "Wow, see, this is what happens when you're in the wrong neighborhood." "What were you doing out there, Dylan? You could have been killed." "I don't know, babe. I was trying to visit my friend Eric." I trailed off when I saw flowers and candy. Stacy followed my gaze and smiled. "Oh yeah, a friend of yours came by and dropped these off for you. Victor, I think he said his name was. He said he wants to have dinner tonight, and you should call him. If they let you go anyways." I felt numb as I reached out and picked up the note that had been left behind on the flowers. "See you tonight at Jack's Burger House. Keeping you in my thoughts, Dylan." Call me crazy, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. If this Victor guy had been able to find me at the hospital and nearly had me killed by gangsters, then I knew he meant business. I had no option but to meet him at the burger joint. After making sure Stacy would be away from the house and at friends, I don't know where her friends live, thank goodness, I armed myself with pepper spray and an old hunting knife I had acquired a few years back. I dressed all in black to make myself seem more intimidating, and I drove to the restaurant at 8. It was crowded. I scanned the clientele, looking for the guy that was quickly becoming the bane of my existence, but didn't spot him. Maybe he wasn't here yet, or maybe he was playing another game. I sat down at the bar and ordered a whiskey. As I took a sip of my drink, I looked around the room again. "You don't feel me, Dylan? I feel you." "What the fuck? Feel me? Are you here right now?" I responded in a pure thought. "I'm in the parking lot, but I'll be inside soon. Order me a vodka tonic, will you? It's the least you can do." I ordered the drink. The bartender had just finished pouring it when Victor sat down in the stool next to mine. He was in all white, his hair slicked back with gel. It was true. He did look like me, albeit a few years older. He didn't say anything when he sat down. He merely picked up the drink took a few swallows, then raised it in the air, admiring it. Vinny makes the best drinks in town, hands down. How's your shoulder, Dill? He chuckled and took another sip. Come on, man. First you bring a knife, now you don't want to talk? You're kind of hurting my feelings. Victor sighed. I know those drug dealers. They weren't going to hurt you. I didn't know you were going to call the cops and have them pull up. I don't want to kill you. Wouldn't hurt my own blood, even if I have to. There it was again. Victor seemed to sense my unease and gave me a condescending look. Come on, man. You think we both acquired the gift on our own, out of nature? Like we are fucking X-Men or something? I was 6 when my mom gave birth to you, but we were poor, to say the least. You were an accident, little brother. We couldn't afford to keep you, but Dad taught me everything he knew about our gift. I worked on refining it for years. Do you know how much easier life has been because of it? I knew the bartender was going to ask if we wanted more drinks, so I quickly made a motion indicating that we did. Then I turned my attention back to my brother. So what now? You gonna tell me what you did to that girl from last night? I don't care if we're brothers or not. I don't know you. I just know you are a murderer. I took her home, that's it. I've never killed anyone before in my life. I promise you that. You're lying. Cynthia Hernandez never made it home last night. She hasn't been to work today either. That's why I made sure the cops knew you'd be here, to pick up the guy that was last seen with her. Victor's eyes narrowed as the front door swung open. He looked at me, rage in his eyes. The fuck? How did you? I'm pretty good with my mind too, I smiled, and one of the officers placed his hand on his shoulder. Sir, we're gonna need you to come with us. They walked Victor out of the bar, and Stacy and I lived happily ever after. At least, that's what he thought was gonna happen. You see, the majority of this little entry actually happened, but I figured out my brother Dylan's mind rather easily, and I know this would be how he would type out his little victory over me. I knew he had informed the cops as soon as he came to the burger shop. He tried to hide it in the very back of his mind, but no one can hide anything from me. No one. I would have just left, but Dylan caused a scene. He wanted to restrain me and give the police time to get there. I had quite a surprise in my trunk waiting for Dylan in case a situation arose. His girl Stacy got too tired and decided not to go to her friend's house after all. I already knew where she lived, and I decided to take her as insurance in case he didn't want to play nice. So I staged a fight and got us both tossed out of the bar. Once we were away from the public eye, I socked him in the forehead and knocked him out cold. We could have ruled together one day. This was a path that he had chosen. I cut up his girl, making extra care to tighten the ropes on his wrist and legs before closing it up. I'm a pro at making people disappear, so I knew where to take him. I couldn't bring myself to kill my own brother though. Starvation and suffocation will do the trick. As for now, he's just alone in his thoughts. Thanks everybody for listening to these 4 stories. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you didn't, hit that like button. And have a good day. Tiddlywinks. Till next time.